Guys, welcome back. So today we're going to do another global news report with emphasis on how it's going to help you to build your future and kind of practical implications for you. So this is France. So basically what happened is that the Prime Minister Bayrou was ousted. There was a vote of no confidence in French Parliament. And now, since September 10th, there are riots on the streets. What are the fundamental problems? Why is it happening? So what is happening is that a lot of European countries, they have a lot of social obligations, meaning they promise that we're going to pay you large pensions, we're going to have very good health care. And at some point, all of those obligations and all of those promises they made to their people, they cannot keep up those promises. They cannot pay, and there are problems with development in Europe. They need to develop new products. They sell more cars, more computers, or whatever they're selling. They need to do more of that so they have more money, and they had few problems traditionally. One problem was migration. So if you continue to take in millions of people and you need to support these people, it becomes a big burden on the economy. So eventually it becomes a problem. And the new prime minister, he saw that there are a lot of problems in France. And he decided that he's going to cut the pension plans. So people will have less pensions. And of course, in France, they didn't like that idea. So they started to riot. So they're already all the big cities. There are about 500 people being arrested already, maybe more. That list is growing. They're fighting with police. They're burning. They're creating destructions on the street, and they call it "Stop Everything." So this protest, they're trying to stop railroads. They're trying to stop cars, everything. So of course, if they paralyze entire economy of France, that's going to be very difficult. It's not good for France to have everything disrupted. So that's going to be a big problem for France. Let's look at the next topic. China and India, they continue to sell US bonds. And basically what is going on is that each economic power has their own instruments. So United States, they're using the element that it's one of the richest countries in the world. So if you want to sell your cars, you want to sell your luxury products, you want to sell your wine, you want to sell whatever it is you're selling, you need United States because there are a lot of people who can afford these products, right? So if United States imposes tariffs, it becomes very difficult, let's say for India or for China or for some other Asian or European country to do business. So then they have to negotiate. Right, but the leverage which these economies have is they say, look, we're not going to buy your bonds. So then your bonds will have less demand, and you will have to increase the percentage which you're paying. So maybe now you're paying 5%, you will have to pay 6%, 7% to people. So then you will need to spend more money. So it's going to become more difficult for you to do that, right? So let's take a look. On top of that, there was a BRICS emergency meeting, right? And BRICS emergency meeting, which was called in by Brazil, they said what it is we can do to deal with pressure from United States, from economic pressure, and they even called it tariffs blackmail. So in other words, when you impose in those tariffs, it can be a very effective instrument for a short run. But in a long run, people will try to find out alternatives and what they can do. So basically, they're discussing what can be done to overcome it. So let's look what they decided. India and China selling US bonds and buying more gold and bitcoins. Gold, of course, was always a big alternative to currency. And Bitcoin as new digital gold is becoming the new thing which governments accumulate. It's not 100% stable. People criticize cryptocurrencies, but on the other hand, it's becoming an alternative to traditional gold. If you can accumulate cryptocurrencies such as Bitcoin, Solana, other cryptocurrency, it can be another hedge against uncertainty in financial markets. So China's central bank extends a 10-month streak of gold purchases, and gold price, I remember only recently it was $2,000 for ounce. Now it's $3,500. So it's risen like dramatically, almost doubled, at least like 50%. Considering Bitcoin strategic reserve, aiming at allocating 18.6 billion. 18.6 is not much, 5% of their foreign reserves into Bitcoin. And another thing these countries are doing, they're building alternative to SWIFT banking system. So United States and Europe, they build this SWIFT banking system. So anytime you need to run a transaction, SWIFT system have to be used to transfer from bank to bank. And when you're trying to buy some goods from different countries, SWIFT system is used heavily. In this slide, it's clear that China, Russia, and BRICS are building their own alternatives to SWIFT. So in other words, also in the short run, you can sanction a country and say, you know what, if you go they used that sanctions against Russia when the war started. They said, look, if you're going to wage a war on Ukraine, we're going to disconnect you from SWIFT, and it's going to be increasingly difficult for you to sell oil, gas, and whatever it is you're selling, food, all of the goods which you're selling to other countries. If they cannot pay you through SWIFT, it will destroy your economy. But countries like China and Russia and now BRICS, they're saying, you know what, we can build our own banking system. We're going to interlink our systems, and we'll be able to pay. So we'll be able to go around the SWIFT system. So in the short run, sanctions are very effective. In the long term, people will try to go around them. The next news is Poland. So basically what happened is that Russia sent about 120 drones towards Poland. And the excuse they used is they said, you know what, there's war and we didn't do it, and Ukraine was trying to jam the GPS and this and that, so it was, we don't know how it happened. So basically they're saying we don't know how it happened, but it caused a lot of panic in Poland, because all of a sudden they see 100 drones flying. So what they did, they issued a command to the airplanes, so the F-16 and F-35 interceptors. They started flying, they started hunting for those drones. But the problem with these drones, the aviation, that they're supposed to, F-16 and F-35. F-35 is a stealth, latest generation stealth fighters. So their idea is to establish superiority in the air. And all of their radars, they're built to look for other planes. Large targets with a lot of metal, with a lot of radar signature. And the drones which are flying into Poland, they were small kind of airplane type drones, but they were very lightweight, very little metal on board. So probably it was very difficult for them to detect it. So it was difficult for them to detect it, and also the sheer number. So at some point, and Israel had this problem, at some point your system, let's say, can intercept only 300 drones or rockets or something which is flying towards you. If your defense system is hit with 500, then you do not have enough time to make a reaction. And probably what happened in Poland, they were not ready. So out of those 120, they shut down maybe 4. So, which is not a good number. And another concern which I had, I'm not a military expert, but from what I understand, the way the air defense system is working is that you need to have multiple layers. So the largest one is, let's say, 200 miles away. You detect a target, and usually those very heavy, very expensive rockets, they used to intercept ballistic missiles. Usually when Russia and the United States, they were locked in, the Soviet Union, they would try to, in a range of 400 or 300 miles, detect the ballistic missile and try to have super heavy, super expensive, maybe each shot would be a couple of $1 million. Each rocket would be very expensive to shut down the ballistic missile. Then you would have something like, let's say, maybe the next one would be maybe 100 miles. Right, and then the next one would be 30 miles, and then you would have the last resort is something which is it's not even rockets, it's maybe small interceptors, and maybe machine guns or something which is trained to intercept something maybe 5 miles away. or maybe some shoulder, like in Poland they have also like some shoulder based systems where there would have to be guys like with rockets kind of like trying to shoot incoming missiles, right? But the problem with that is it have to be very well connected, and all the systems have to be communicating very well. They're supposed to pinpoint the targets, they're supposed to look at them, and they're supposed to assign which layer of that defense system will shut it down. So once you have those inexpensive, cheap, I don't know, maybe each drone would be like, I don't know, $2,000, $5,000, maybe less. These are like basically cheap airplanes with some navigation data so that they can get commands. And once eventually Russia downed all of those and said it was a mistake and there were no explosives on those drones, but it was clear that it was going towards the airports in Poland, and those airports are used to supply Ukraine to defend itself against Russia, right? So basically what they did is that it wasn't a military operation from the point of view to destroy those airports, but they showed that they have a capability to send those drones, and they showed the defense system in Poland is very weak. And basically when they do something like that, their goal is to send the targets. Those targets would be inexpensive, and they're watching in real time what is the response, what radars are activated, which system are trying to intercept, from what airport the interceptors, the F-16 and F-35 are flying. Do they have anything else which can shut it down, right? So basically it's kind of like reconnaissance and force. Those systems are supposed to find weaknesses, and what they found out is that the system is not that strong. The system is weak. Not only that, but they also wanted to understand what is the political will, because Poland is part of NATO. In NATO they have Article 5, which is saying that if one nation is under attack, all other nations have to come to its help, and they have to use their military system against the aggressor. So what this showed is that all other countries said, you know what, those drones, they probably just got lost and nothing happened. Nobody hit you, so that's not an attack. We don't have to help you. So they invoked Article 4. Article 4 is consultations. So consultations, so they're going to call a NATO meeting and they're going to say, oh, what are we going to do next time? Next time we're going to help you. We're going to send you more planes. But again, basically, So this is a problem now. European security. If you're planning to move somewhere in Europe, you want to buy a house somewhere in Europe, or you're planning to travel, now Europe is becoming less safe. So the war between Russia and Ukraine can spread into Poland. It's already spreading into Poland, and who knows which countries are next. It could be Finland, it could be Romania, it could be anything. So again, the sooner this war will end, the better it will be for European security. But so far, there is no end in sight of the war. So you have to take it into consideration. And the last news I wanted to talk about is Vietnam. In Vietnam, they implemented the reform that all the banking systems, all the bank accounts have to be linked to biometrics. I saw one Vietnamese blogger, he was reporting that 80 million accounts were frozen. So basically what they're trying to do, a lot of countries are doing that. They're trying to link biometrics, one single database. In China, they implemented a social system that if you're doing something positive, they increase your credit score and you can borrow more money. If you're doing something negative, especially if you criticize the government, they're going to decrease your government score. One day you cross the street on a red light, they say, oh my God, this guy wants to break the system. He doesn't want to obey. There are cameras all over the place. So a lot of countries are switching. They call it Agenda 2030, and there's another one, Agenda 2045. So that system has benefits. So theoretically, you can go to any store. You do not need to have your wallet. You do not need to have your ID. They just scan your face. They know who you are. And let's say you have $10,000 in the bank. So whatever you need to buy, that's fine. You're happy. You go home, right? But if something is wrong with that system, or they deem you that you're like an element which is dangerous to the system. And they give an example that one guy, he passed in Vietnam, he passed all the biometrics, he submitted everything, his fingerprints, his eye scans, his face scans, and then he decided to grow a beard, right? So he decided to look fancy with a beard, like a fancy guy. And what happened? The system said, oh my God, he's growing a beard, he's probably Islamic terrorist. So we should flag him, we should freeze his account. Of course, it could be a single point, it could be a mistake. So now he's going all over the place. So that system, more and more countries will implement this oversight and biometrics, and your ATM is linked to the system. Social scoring, they're watching what you're saying on social media. If you say something provocative, if you say something against the system, if you criticize somebody, they can lock you up very easily. So that's it, guys. If you like the news, consider subscribing, consider liking the video. And the way I'm doing it, I used to teach classes at Columbia University. I worked on Wall Street as an engineer. I worked in Hollywood supporting production, and I'm building my own a startup, DreamPlan.ai, which will have information and kind of personal intelligence like that, which will help people to move to different countries, to find a second home, to find a retirement. Maybe you want to work remotely. So I'm building a community and I'm building information about what is useful for you. So if you like this kind of information, please subscribe, and thank you very much for watching. Bye-bye.